The runoff elections in Brazil have concluded and the Latin American country has taken a left turn. The former president, Lula da Silva, back in power after having spent time in jail on corruption charges. So now the question is, what does Lula's victory mean for Brazilians and actually the entire world, now that there is a change in leadership from far right to far left? And that's what we're explaining today. Brazil's former president is a pro-left leader. Lula da Silva defeated the incumbent right-wing president, Jair Bolsonaro. The result was close, just as expected. Lula secured 50.9% votes, while Bolsonaro secured 49.1%. But Lula is likely to face a rather difficult term in office. There is considerable opposition from the large bloc of Bolsonaro-aligned senators. Nevertheless, his election represents one of the strongest comeback stories in Brazil's history. Lula was previously convicted. He was imprisoned on corruption charges. Of course, those were later overturned by the country's Supreme Court, and it paved the way for him to contest a third term. Ahead of the elections, Lula promised to reverse some of Bolsonaro's policies. He hinted at aligning more closely with the United States. He has said that his objective is to raise the standard of living for Brazilians, who of course have witnessed this landslide wealth gap, especially after the pandemic. An Oxfam report suggests that 33 million Brazilians were going hungry in April 2022 after inflation hit record levels because of the Russia-Ukraine war. Lula has previously been credited for lifting the Brazilian working class from extreme poverty with the kind of policies that he introduced. But the situation was quite different then. During his term in the 2000s, commodities were in a super cycle. It helped Brazil's natural resources industry boom. But now Lula takes over during an extreme economic crisis in most parts of the world. Many of the developed nations, and that includes the US, are on the brink of a recession. While some experts believe that Lula may align with the United States, others point at the changing tide in much of Latin America, where leftist leaders have moved away from American interests. And that includes the likes of Venezuela and Nicaragua, both of which have rejected American consensus norms. While Lula and Bolsonaro have promised revival of Brazil's economy ahead of the elections, neither of these two candidates have actually discussed how they are going to achieve that feat. But it is almost certain that protecting the Amazon forests, which had come under increasing pressure because of all the mining taking place or the deforestation happening there under the regime of Bolsonaro, is going to remain a top priority for the new president.